In this podcast episode, Vivek Ramaswamy, who is running for President of the United States, discusses various topics including his campaign, the influence of money in politics, the need for national unity, and his plans to reform the government. Ramaswamy begins by talking about his campaign and how it has gained momentum since the debates. He acknowledges that his candidacy was initially seen as laughable, but he believes that the country needs a vision and a leader who can speak the truth without a filter. He emphasizes the importance of closing the gap between what people say in private and what they say in public, as it reflects the health of the country. The conversation then shifts to the role of money in politics and the pressure Ramaswamy faces to conform to the interests of outside donors. He explains that while individuals can only contribute a maximum of $6,600 to a campaign, the real money is being spent by independent entities known as super PACs. These super PACs can spend millions of dollars to support a candidate, and they often have significant influence over their policies and messaging. Ramaswamy, however, refuses to play this game and is committed to speaking his mind freely. Ramaswamy goes on to discuss the need for campaign finance reform and the importance of election integrity. He believes that the current system is broken and that it will take a leader who is willing to make significant changes to fix it. He mentions his plans to implement single-day voting with Election Day as a national holiday, use paper ballots, and require government-issued voter IDs to ensure fair and secure elections. The conversation then turns to the topic of national unity. Ramaswamy argues that the country is more united than it appears, and that the media often exaggerates the divisions. He believes that most people, regardless of their political affiliation, agree on the basic principles that unite Americans, such as meritocracy, free speech, and the pursuit of excellence. He emphasizes the need to focus on these shared values and to move away from divisive issues. Ramaswamy also discusses his views on former President Donald Trump. While he agrees with many of Trump's policies, he believes that there are areas where they differ. He mentions his disagreement with Trump's approach to the border wall, the Department of Education, and some of the prosecutions during his presidency. However, he also praises Trump as the best president of the 21st century, citing his ability to keep the country out of war and grow the economy. The conversation continues with a discussion on how Ramaswamy plans to reform the government and address the deep state. He argues that incremental reform is not enough and that a revolution is needed. He proposes mass layoffs of federal employees, shutting down government agencies that shouldn't exist, and canceling or rescinding federal regulations. He also mentions his plans to shut down the FBI, which he believes has been corrupted and is not serving its intended purpose. Ramaswamy continues by discussing the legal reasons behind certain decisions, particularly in relation to civil rights. He explains that protected classes, such as race and gender, are thought to apply to immutable characteristics or inborn native characteristics. However, he points out the contradiction within the gay rights movement, which claims that sexual orientation is hardwired from birth, while also arguing that biological sex is fluid over the course of one's life. Ramaswamy highlights that there is no gay gene and that the sex chromosomes are definitive, yet the movement claims that biological sex is fluid. He then moves on to discuss the grouping of gay and trans people, expressing his confusion as to why they are often grouped together. Ramaswamy mentions that many gay individuals are appalled by being categorized with those who may suffer from mental health issues. He also notes that there is often tension between different groups within the LGBTQ+ community, such as gay men and lesbian women. Ramaswamy then shifts the conversation to the climate change agenda, referring to it as a cult. He criticizes the movement for its contradictions, such as opposing carbon emissions in the United States while turning a blind eye to carbon emissions in other countries like China. He also points out the irony of the movement being against nuclear energy, which is a carbon-free energy source. Ramaswamy suggests that the climate change agenda is driven by global equity and the desire to allow other countries, particularly China, to catch up to the United States. The discussion then turns to the geopolitical landscape, specifically focusing on China's influence. Ramaswamy argues that China is playing the United States like a Chinese mandolin, and that the country is engaged in cultural and economic warfare. He mentions China's military alliance with Russia and its involvement in Cuba and other countries. Ramaswamy also highlights China's role in supplying fentanyl to Mexican drug cartels, which has led to numerous deaths in the United States. Regarding his own political aspirations, Ramaswamy expresses his support for former President Donald Trump and his America First agenda. However, he emphasizes that he can unite the country in a way that Trump cannot. Ramaswamy states that he would seek Trump's advice and mentorship during his first year in office. He also mentions his plan to speak the truth and let the people decide, rather than engaging in personal attacks or bashing opponents. Ramaswamy continues by discussing President Xi Jinping's leadership style and suggests that Xi has daddy issues. He argues that Xi's desire for control and power stems from his upbringing and the need to prove himself to his father. Ramaswamy believes that this psychological aspect influences Xi's approach to governance and his desire to consolidate power within the Chinese Communist Party. Moving on, the conversation shifts towards the role of social media in politics. Ramaswamy acknowledges the positive aspects of social media, such as its ability to amplify marginalized voices and hold powerful individuals accountable. However, he also highlights the negative consequences, particularly the polarization and echo chambers that social media platforms can create. Ramaswamy argues that these echo chambers hinder productive political discourse and contribute to the growing divide within society. The discussion then turns to former President Donald Trump. Ramaswamy expresses his belief that Trump's presidency was a symptom of deeper societal issues rather than the cause. He suggests that Trump's rise to power was a result of the growing discontent among a significant portion of the American population who felt ignored by the political establishment. Ramaswamy emphasizes the importance of understanding the underlying factors that led to Trump's election rather than solely focusing on Trump himself. Ramaswamy also touches upon the topic of cancel culture and its impact on free speech. He argues that cancel culture stifles open dialogue and discourages individuals from expressing their opinions freely. He believes that society should encourage a more tolerant and inclusive approach to differing viewpoints, rather than resorting to canceling or silencing those with whom we disagree. Furthermore, Ramaswamy discusses the influence of big tech companies on politics and society. He expresses concern over the immense power these companies hold and their ability to shape public opinion. Ramaswamy suggests that there should be more transparency and accountability in how these platforms operate, as their algorithms and content moderation policies can significantly impact the flow of information and shape public discourse. Towards the end of the podcast, Ramaswamy shares his thoughts on the future of politics and the need for a more nuanced understanding of complex issues. He emphasizes the importance of critical thinking and encourages individuals to question prevailing narratives rather than blindly accepting them. Ramaswamy believes that fostering a culture of intellectual curiosity and open-mindedness is crucial for a healthy democracy. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe.